So, episode 3. Episode 3 was pretty boss, if you ask me. Had some fantastic fights in it. We learned a lot of things about Mandalorians and their armor and stuff. So let's go through the list. So the first thing we find out at the beginning of the episode, which is fantastic, is the Razor Crest has a hyperdrive. Up until this point, I kind of doubted it because you never actually saw him engage or disengage from hyperdrive. There were just shots of him sitting in the cabin, puttering along in space. But right off at the beginning of the episode, he drops out of hyperdrive in front of whatever planet the covert is located in, where Grief and the client are hanging out, waiting to receive the baby Yod, or the clone baby Yod, however you wanna look at that. So a lot of things, a lot of good fight scenes, a lot of good action, a lot of good conversations with a lot of disparate parties in the episode occur, which is fantastic. However, I think the most notable things from the episode are very specific to the Mandalorians. We learn about the code. We don't know all the details of the code, but we get to see some pretty good detail. And this is from a perspective of not having sucked up all the detail of the Clone Wars. I know that there's a lot more information about Mandalorians in the Clone Wars, but to be honest, I only have watched the Clone Wars probably once through total, so I don't have all that detail, and I'm sure if you wanted to jump on the wiki pages, you could get a lot more information. So we learn about the code. We learn about the Cuirass, which evidently is their language for a full suit of armor, because the Mandalorian brings back the full bounty of Beskar and the armor after quelling some fighting with a new favorite character of mine. We get to see the Cuirass on the Mandalorian. So now our man's got a full set, a dope new uniform. The other thing that comes off of this is we have a quick discussion about the Signet. The armorer wants to produce a mudhorn for the Mandalorian's Signet, but he says, no, hold up. We're not there yet. Because my enemy helped me kill the Mudhorn, which is interesting considering the rest of the details of the episode, which I won't get into, because I don't want to spoil a whole lot, considering it's, the episode dropped first thing this morning. It's Friday at 10 o'clock, and, we're still banging around on that. So, the Signet, he declines because his enemy helped him, which it was the baby Yod, so I'm not really sure how that throws down as enemy. And there's an almost fight that occurs between a heavy trooper Mandalorian and our man, and it comes to blows pretty quick. The heavy trooper calls our Mandalorian a coward and threatens him, tries to rip his helmet off and throw him around. A scuffle ensues, and they both draw their vibroblades. And the armor kind of quells that, with the fact that our Mandalorian has never removed his helmet and has never had it removed by anyone else. And that's the code, that's the way. They get a little group chant, and then his new armor is fabricated. Lots of fantastic fighting, Lots of really good content in this episode, but I am kind of disappointed that it rounds out at like 31 total minutes of screen time for the action, and then we cut to the splash screens. So I don't know. I'm hoping that there are a couple of late season long episodes, but at the rate we're going, I'll say this to say that. I think that they do a really good job at rounding out the episodes and having them end without too much fluff or trying to strip out too much of the story. I feel like they tell an effective story through the period of time that they use on screen, and it comes to an end when it feels like that portion of the story is finished. So super excited about that. The Beskar fabricating really felt like shots from the first season of Beskar fabricating. Didn't seem to really shed a whole lot of light on what happens there, so we could stand to see more of that. There is a fun shot at the end of the episode where a couple of Mandalorians are exchanging are on screen together doing stuff, and one of them has a rocket pack, and the Mandalorian to himself out loud says, "I really got to get me one of those," and there's a good grin moment there. So I could jump really deep into all the details of what happened in the episode, but considering it's day one, I'm not going to ruin it for everyone. So go watch the episode in the bleepy bloops down below. Go ahead and put your comments and tell me what you think about the code and the covert and it having to be moved based on the events of the episode, and any other thoughts you might have. And, I hope you have a good one.